What's strong that KD? Fucking love it. So want to see.
About damn time.
But,
Your mic is not good.
What?
Your mic is not good.
oh, you can hear us?
We were staying in Paris to get away from your parents. You look so proud, standing there with a frown and a cigarette, posting pictures of yourself on the internet, out on the terrace. We breathe in the air of this small town on our own, cutting glass with the thrill of it, getting drunk on the past we were living in. If we go down, then we go down together. They'll say you could do anything, they'll say that I was clever. If we go down, then we go down together. We'll get away with everything, let's show them we are better.
Show them we are, show them we are, let's show them we are, show them we are, show them we are. Show them we are, show them we are, let's show them we are, show them we are, show them we are.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Fan Report. Second day in a row for the second weekend in a row. Show number 4. Gonna be a little bit short of a show. Last time we went a little bit longer than we normally do. Hopefully it's still a good show for you guys. We hope to be, have a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah.
So,
We got 3 topics on up for you
yeah,
guys.
we got just a few topics. If you guys want to throw in some more input, please feel free. We love having you guys talking with
And
us.
have a drink with us throughout the show.
Yeah,
Feel free.
A little bit of a, just a little fun tonight, a little chill night. So please feel free to just hang out, chill with us, chill in the chat, and we'd love to have your input. So again, I'm Nick,
Andrew.
and this is the Fan Report, where it's by fans for fans. So here we go. We're gonna break down a little bit what we got going on tonight. We're gonna be talking about. We're gonna start it off with a little bit of how fantasy sports changed professional sports and how things with fantasy sports and the money that's been put into it and the hype around it, just the mainstream hype around it that has changed the way professional sports are played and viewed.
Something we haven't talked about, so it should
We
be fun to
actually,
finally
this
touch
was
on it.
actually something that we had wanted to talk about in our first show, but we didn't get to it. And then we pushed to our second show, and our second show was entirely made up of current topics about sports and what's going on. So we're finally bringing it up in our third show. This is one that we, both of us are huge fantasy gurus, basically, that we love playing fantasy sports. So it's going to be a lot of fun for us. And then our second topic is salary caps in sports. Raise, lower, or keep them the same. The money that's been put
Or
into the
eliminate
sports,
altogether.
into the games, or eliminate them altogether, yeah.
Like the MLB.
Yeah, like MLB has. How we feel about that, and again, we'd love to have your input. And then to end the show tonight, we're going to talk about video games coming up in the year
Most
2017
anticipated video game
beyond.
releases.
The most anticipated video game release is coming out either this year or next year and beyond. I mean, what are you guys excited about? What are you guys, looking forward to? Or what are you guys not looking forward to? What do you think is going to fail? So hopefully, again, we put on a good show for you guys. Have fun. I know we will.
Yeah.
So let's kick it. Let's get it going.
Let's get going.
All right. Let's open up with some fantasy sports, my friend.
Sports. Beautiful
Yeah.
thing.
How's our basketball team doing tonight?
I think we're tied.
Oh, we're tied? All right.
think-
Yeah, we're in a league together. We run the same team this year in a Yahoo League. So, but fantasy sports. I think the most impact, really, honestly, I don't even know if there's been an impact in any sport besides football. I think
We're actually
football's-
losing, but let's continue.
Oh, well, that's but I think football is really the only sport you've seen an impact that fantasy has made.
It's true. Well, then again, fantasy football is the biggest.
Fantasy
of all the
football
fantasy
is the
sports.
biggest. I don't know that
It is
fantasy
the
basketball
flagship
has.
fantasy
I don't know that
sport.
fantasy basketball or fantasy hockey or anything has quite caught up just yet. I mean, there's fantasy golf. There's fantasy everything.
Oh yeah, there's
even
fantasy The Bachelor.
There's fantasy esports. There is fantasy The Bachelor. That's a joke. But there's fantasy esports. I mean, it's actually pretty big. There's a lot of hype around it right now, just because of the hype around esports. People, I know Counter-Strike is big into it. It's just so that you pick your team, pick your players, and who performs the best. So
There's fantasy esports.
yeah, there's fantasy
I was not
esports
aware of
now.
that.
There's fantasy everything, dude. There's fantasy Bachelor. There's fantasy esports.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, like I said, we're huge into fantasy. Fantasy football is literally one of the most fun times of the year for us. We go all out every year. We have draft parties, playoff parties. We watch every game you can imagine just because of fantasy. So, and that was our producer that just tried to sneak by. She's not very sneaky. Good try. But fantasy sports, in my opinion, has drastically changed the game of football.
For better or for worse?
In my opinion, for worse.
For worse.
I think it's added a different dimension. I think it's caused you to want to view more games and view different teams and view different
It
players.
changed the way you watch it.
It changes the way you watch, and I don't think it's for in a good way, because nobody watches the game anymore. Everybody just watches
Players.
the players and the offenses. Really, no one really watches the defense anymore. No one likes watching defense. I love watching defense because I love watching the big hits.
But when you're watching for fantasy, like NFL Red Zone, they're not going to show you they're showing you teams that are about to score.
They're not showing you the long, grueling drives
Yeah.
that 2 yards in a cloud of dust type plays. I mean, they're showing you the big plays, the big catches, the deep balls, the big runs, and the touchdowns or the field goals, and they're not showing you the whole drive. So yes, it definitely changes the way you view the sport.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a good thing. I think that's kind of added to the attention span problems of today's generation.
Yeah.
If anything, I mean, because you're constantly changing between game to game, and even watching several games at once with the quad box. But I mean,
Octobox.
but it's changed the way sports are played more than just how you view them. It's changed the way that money's in sports. It's changed the way, sports betting has gotten bigger again, because people are constantly, you want to throw in, there she goes again, right behind us. Yep. I'm seeing it on the video as she, tries to sneak by. She's not very good at it, but
Trying really hard.
yeah. So, fantasy sports, it changed the money in it. It's added money, a way for fans to make some money into
Yeah.
it, along with the sports betting. But is it? Can you at this point in the game? Can you put it on the same level as sports betting? Because you are putting money into it,
it's
just
a
like
well,
you are betting.
It is a form inherently of sports betting.
So why is it legal?
Why?
Not saying I want it to go away. I love fantasy football, but why is it legal? If sports betting's not legal and in places outside of Vegas and a few other cities, why is fantasy sports legal everywhere?
It's an age-old question. I have no idea. I genuinely do not know why something like fantasy sports you'd be allowed to put money on, but if you want to put money on a spread, you couldn't do it outside of Vegas.
See, I don't understand it either. It's hard to tell just because of the fact that you're literally betting on a game. You're literally betting on several games. You're betting on all of them.
And you can't
betting
argue
on players going to do well or do bad.
You can't argue that's a long-term bet because you also have daily fantasy.
Right.
And they
FanDuel,
tried to ban it,
DraftKings,
but it's still going.
Well, they just merged into probably one of
Yeah.
the biggest companies out there. I mean, it's become something that is so huge now that I'm honestly surprised that the gambling commissions in this country are not looking closer at it, and considering it to be sports betting.
What do you think is more likely to happen? Money fantasy leagues being outlawed, or sports gambling being made legal?
Sports gambling will be made legal. It's already on the path to be made legal. It's already becoming a bigger thing. I mean, before it just was Vegas and the bookies around your cities, but now I'm pretty sure it's Vegas, and I think New York's gotten into it. I'm pretty sure Detroit's probably gonna start allowing sports betting. So I definitely see sports betting becoming legal before daily fantasy leagues money leagues get banned. And if money leagues get banned, That's really not going to stop much because I guarantee you most of the money leagues that are played are
they'll be
between
on it.
friends and family anyways.
Yeah, they'll be on the
so
table.
what are they going to do to stop that? They can't.
Now, let me play devil's advocate here for a second. Do you think that the reason that fantasy sports you can bet on and actual sports betting is legal is because in fantasy you're more so betting on the players rather than the team, so it's harder to fix? Could that be the reason?
I don't know that sports betting is illegal because of the fact that you can fix the games by sports betting. I think that's why the players aren't allowed to bet on games or do sports betting. I don't think that's why the average fan is allowed to. I think
So then why would it be illegal?
I don't know. That's the point. There's
That's
really
what
no,
I've always
there's
thought.
there's really no reason why sports betting is illegal. It's what the hell does Joe Schmo, the fan over here, what does his sports bet have to do with the player fixing a game? It doesn't.
You know what it reminds me of? 1920s when pinball machines were illegal because they were thought about as a money front for the mob.
But it's true though. Why? What does this? What do I? Betting on the Patriots game have to do with Tom Brady throwing an interception on purpose? It doesn't. That's why I don't understand sports betting is illegal. I understand not allowing the players to bet or get involved in sports betting, or the coaches or people involved with the team. But I don't understand the average fan.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I do think sports betting is going to be legal before fantasy. Fantasy becomes illegal. Just based on the fact that you're already seeing a trend of sports betting becoming legal in certain areas more than you had before. But I mean, fantasy's definitely changed the way you watch your games. I mean, Red Zone especially. I mean, you even see it with NBA League Pass. I mean, there's tons of you can watch any game you want and you can flip between them. So even fantasy basketball has changed a little bit of how you view the game.
Well, I would bet good money that at least 70% of the people that are subscribed to something like NBA League Pass are doing it for fantasy reasons.
Oh, absolutely.
Not because they're generally interested in watching.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Other teams play.
Fantasy, I mean, daily fantasy leagues have in several sports become a career for some people. They're so good at it that they make a career out of it. They, have. There's
you've had people who become millionaires.
Off of fantasy, and they've made it so
they
now
craft the algorithms.
Yeah, and they for like FanDuel teams, they put out 400 FanDuel teams with with the algorithms creating X amount of lineups, and one of them's gonna hit the big money. They spent $10 grand on lineups, but they won 150. So in situations like that, yeah, it's a career, it's a job. People do that on a daily basis and continuing to configure the algorithms and make it so that they almost guarantee themselves the money. So I can see why the players don't like it, because when someone in fantasy loses, it doesn't feel good. They get mad.
Yeah.
You get mad. You get mad at
your team. A lot of people are so dedicated that your team could win. Your actual sports team, your hometown team. But if your fantasy player had a bad game, they'll be livid.
Oh,
it would ruin the rest of their day.
You spend a whole weekend watching football, but your quarterback, Drew Brees had a bad game. You're mad at Drew Brees for the week, and obviously, that would be a lot of people, and there's a lot of terrible people out there that are going to literally pose death threats on Drew Brees because he had a bad game. I mean, yeah, that's terrible to say, and it's terrible that people do that, but at the same time, that's society. And it's gotten to a point now where, because fantasy's so big, it's across a grand scheme. I mean, it's on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It's, in the media. You constantly hear about it. People somehow find a way to get some of these guys' phone numbers or addresses and show up at their houses and threaten them. Like, oh, you better have a better game next time. Like, it's a terrible thing that's happening.
Look what happened to David Wilson a few years ago.
Oh, exactly.
He got so many death threats on Twitter after his first game. -2 points. He was like he was a second round pick. He debuted with -2 points.
Exactly. It's a terrible thing, but I think that's why players genuinely don't like fantasy. And it's genuinely, I mean, there's tons of fantasy ads throughout the game and ways that even the broadcast has changed to cater to fantasy, because the average fan now is more of a fantasy fan than they are a team fan. Most of the fans that watch your games on the weekends are fantasy fans. And I don't know how the ratings work when it comes to a channel like Red Zone. I'm not entirely sure if you watch a game. If you're watching Red Zone and this game shows up for a little bit, does that actually count as a rating for that game? I don't know. I doubt it, because it's not going to the network. It's going to the NFL network, the Red Zone.
I mean, it's funny you bring up ratings though, because when you look at the other side of this coin, it is fantasy sports are huge for professional leagues ratings wise.
Absolutely.
It absolutely boosts ratings astronomically for any professional sports league that is involved in fantasy sports.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, ratings has changed the game. The ratings from fantasy sports has changed the game. I mean, in certain aspects, I can see how the ratings have been boosted by it, but at the same time, ratings, I feel like if the ratings aren't going to the network for them, I can see that the average fan watching Red Zone be the reason that network from that game is lower. The ratings are lowering. Fewer people aren't necessarily watching the game. The same amount are watching the game, but they're also watching several other games at the same time because, for fantasy purposes.
Exactly.
So it's changed the way people watch the games. It's changed the money that's in the games. It's changed the way, people react with the players. And it's changed the way the players think about the fans. Excuse me. Players probably don't trust the fans as much as they used to. They're not as interactive with the fans as they used to be. I mean, in a face-to-face manner. Over the internet, obviously, interaction with fans is an all-time high.
Yeah.
You never had anything like that before. But face-to-face, players kind of seem a little bit cold with fans now. Because everything's about money now, and basically all they're doing is making money off of another person's success. I mean, you see it with the autographs. That's why Tom Brady's coming out saying that he's charging $1,000 per autograph now.
Yeah.
Because, $1,000... You pay $1,000 for his autograph, for an autograph jersey that costs you $200. Well, if you look online, they go for about $1,800.
Yeah.
So you're still profiting $600 in that jersey, or whatever. So basically, that guy is making free money off of Tom Brady, and that's why he's charging so much money for his autographs. That's why Miguel Cabrera charges $250 for his. I mean, it looks bad. It looks tacky that he's, charging. What's $1,000 on a $20 million contract? So, hey man, no links in the chat. But I mean, what's $1,000 on a $20 million contract? Yeah, and to the average fan who's got to pay that $1,000. But most of these people getting these autographs nowadays are not the average fan. They are your brokers. I bet you, and I can guarantee you, that if Tom Brady sees some kid walk up to him on the street with a football in his hands or ticket in his hands and says, "Hey Tom, I'm a huge fan of yours. Can I get your autograph?" I bet you Tom Brady's not going to say, "Sure, break out your checkbook."
Yeah.
He's going to sign the thing for the kid. What was that? I don't know. Something just fell. But when it comes to a grown-ass man showing up with 50 jerseys in his hand, you know what that man's there for. So, fantasy sports has changed. I mean, it's made these players into icons, basically. It's made these players into, gods almost in the eye of some people. I mean, they're all over these players now. What good, bad, or, whatever. It's definitely changed the way people look at the players and how the players interact with the fans in a face-to-face manner. And in my opinion, not in a good way.
Yeah.
A fan now is not... They don't care about the fans anymore. They don't care about how the fan perceives them because the player just feels that, I got my paycheck and this fan only cares about me because I made him money on the weekend or whatever. It's changed sports in a negative light, in my opinion. And
as far as fan-player relationships,
and as far as that, and as far as the way you watch the game, as far as the money and the way you view the game and the way the game is broadcasted. I mean, there's a lot of negative things about it. Granted, there's no doubt in my mind, fantasy football and fantasy basketball and baseball and all of them are a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. I love playing fantasy. But I can see how people would portray it as a negative thing. But don't get me wrong, I love them. I love playing them. I will for years to come until something happens that it just pisses me off to no end, like it does every year. I say it every year. I'm not playing next year, and what do you know? I play. So
I mean, just to piggyback on your comment, I had two different people in my fantasy football league say that this is the last year playing fantasy football because they're losing. It's making them lose appreciation for the game.
And what do you know? They come back next year.
And they keep
coming back.
It's not the first time I've heard it, and they keep coming back.
Exactly, and it's not just the fantasy addiction, which fantasy becomes an addiction during fantasy, especially fantasy football.
So you want to win
because you want to win, so you're constantly looking at your lineup every day, even though the game's only on the weekend. You're staring at your lineup throughout the day.
You increase your chances of winning by spending more time.
Yes, it's studying your matchups and everything like that. Definitely, but I mean, people do it for several reasons. Some people do it for the money. Yeah. Some people do it because they like football. Some people do it because they want to watch all the games or love all the players. Some people do it because it's just a camaraderie thing. It's a fun competition amongst friends and family. And that's kind of how I am. It's a fun competition with friends and family.
Yeah.
I love playing fantasy because I can, I talk shit to you constantly with fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
We go back and forth all the time, and it's purely because of fantasy during that
Light
time.
up the message boards.
I mean, my
no other way to
girlfriend
do
hates it. My girlfriend hates it when it's fantasy season just because that's all we talk about together, and it literally is all we talk about. So I mean, in some ways it's good, some ways positive, some ways it's negative, and I can see both sides of the coin. I can see why people don't like it. I can see why I'm still surprised it hasn't been outlawed because of the amount of money in it, but. It's just it is what it is, and it's going to stay that way and probably continue to get bigger unless sports don't get bigger, which that's a different argument whether or not sports are going to continue to grow.
Well, fantasy itself is causing sports to get bigger.
Oh, absolutely. But
And
at this point has it reached its zenith, its mountaintop, and is it going to, start tumbling back down? That we don't know. That's what we're going to see.
I say this every year, and every year it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I always say there's no way it can get bigger.
This is really the first year you can't say that.
Why?
Because the ratings are down. And in most sports except baseball, this past year, the ratings have drastically diminished. People are not as many people are going to the games. Not as many people are buying the tickets, turning the game on and watching it. No, not as many people are doing that anymore. So you can honestly say that the numbers have decreased. You can honestly say that sports has kind of gone down.
Well, the ad revenues would say otherwise.
Okay, but the ad revenues are going to continue to grow because your contracts from 5 years ago are nowhere near monetarily wise as big as they are now.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the NBA just signed the largest ad contract in the history of the NBA.
Exactly.
Obviously, the ad revenue is going to be bigger because you got a bigger contract. But that's just what today is, and that coincides with the salary caps, which we're getting into right in just a couple of minutes. That coincides with the salary caps alone. I mean, the contracts that the players are making. So, I mean, when you have that kind of money in the game, obviously the ad revenue is going to be there. That doesn't mean that people are watching those ads. I don't know about you, but I turn off the commercials during games now. I hate commercials. They drive me nuts. The only game I watch
That's the time to take a pee break and grab another beer. That's
exactly. Or, grab some more dip or whatever. But the only game that I watch ads for is the Super Bowl. And and I may not even watch the ads for it next year because the ads this year were not very good. So, but fantasy sports has changed it drastically. It's going to continue to change it until it reaches a point where they have to make a change about it. It's going to get so big that they have to physically make a change. The game has to make a change because it's going to end up changing too much that's not in a good positive light. Too much of a good thing is still a bad thing. So, but that's really all I got on fantasy. I mean,
question for you.
Yeah.
Cap it off. If sports betting were to become legal, could you see a different style of fantasy sports where it's more team-oriented rather than player-oriented?
Not necessarily, because you'd have to present a format in front of me for me to be able to fully understand it. I could, there is a possibility for it, obviously. But I do think that if sports betting were to be legal, you'd have your daily, your weekly, obviously, or in basketball or in other sports case, daily leagues, where people would just go on a website like a FanDuel and just pick their game of the week or pick their games that they're, pick the games.
Yeah.
But in terms of a fantasy aspect, no, I don't really see how a fantasy aspect would work. Just because it's not really, you're not picking this team against this team, this team. It doesn't. I guess you could work it out, but no, I do think the fantasy players aspect will still reign supreme. But you'll still be able to see if sports betting does become legal, you'll still be able to pick your games and put your money in and win some of that back. So that I do.
What I was getting at is like the way sports betting is set up right now. If it were legalized, you could do where it's a not like you have a league, like a sports betting league where you're competing against your friends, betting into spread.
So like a pick'em challenge,
line.
basically.
Yeah, but like with actually putting actual money down on each and every game instead of
pick'em challenges. You put money down. Just
can't
really talk about that.
Yeah.
Keep down low. But yeah, I could see some pick'em leagues being out there. I could see that, but I still don't think it'll be anywhere near as big as fantasy. I think that'll just kind of be second rate compared to it. So
how would you say fantasy's part of the salary cap then?
It's affecting contracts just because of not just fantasy affecting the contracts, but you mentioned the ad revenue affecting all that. So the ad revenue definitely has affected the contracts in sports, which in direct response has affected the salary caps.
Yeah.
And salary caps, in my opinion, are way too high. I mean, that's why you have super teams in the
in part
NBA.
because of fantasy.
That's why you have super teams in the NBA. That's why, you have contracts in the NBA. I mean, the NBA is a big example right now, and I have a lot of problems with the way they did things. Baseball, while yes, their contracts are completely exorbitant and completely overblown, but at the same time, the money is there. Money is paid where it's due. Unlike basketball, where you got guys like Tyler Johnson and Timothy Mozgov getting $50 million contracts. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Tyler Johnson played a total of 60 games, like 3 years, and now he's got a $50 million contract. You're telling me that man deserves $50 million? I don't. I think that guy probably in today's market would actually be deserved a like $4 million a year contract at most. I mean, so that's why I think the NBA was just completely ridiculous this offseason. And baseball, the money is given where it's due. Yeah, the contracts are ridiculous because they have no salary cap, and your big market teams are the teams that are the ones that spend the money. But baseball has proven that not the big market teams aren't the ones that always win. It was in the 90s, in the early 2000s with the Yankees, you saw that, but not anymore. There's new ways to play the game. There's different styles there's different strategies in the front office.
Moneyball the shit out of your team.
Moneyball doesn't necessarily work. I mean, you can go that route.
Rockets are using it right now, and they're
the Rockets.
Daryl Morey's a big stats guy.
I gotcha. But like the Red Sox, when they quote unquote did the Moneyball route, they went big market Moneyball. So I mean, they're a big market team. They spent the money, but they spent it on the players that worked by that format. So you could go the Moneyball route and build your team that way. But you could also do what the Cubs did and build from within. You draft players. You tank for a few years and you draft your team and build your team that way. You develop your players. That is how in my opinion, how you win in today's game and how you win in today's baseball. Yes, they have bigger contracts than some of those players, but they also have their focal players are the guys that they built from within. A Chris Bryant, an Anthony Rizzo, guys like that, they built from within. So, but in terms of where the money goes in baseball, yes, again, the contracts are ridiculous, but no man should earn $30 million a year. That's unbelievable. However, that man who earns $30 million a year, you're right. The ownership, I can't even read your name. It's yellow. Man, that is Nagata Lock 2. I got you. They give it up too early because fans are screaming. Yeah, no. I would say that the ownership of teams can sweat it out just because the owners really put their blinders on and just count their cash because they're still making money, especially when they're not spending that much money to begin with on their teams. But when it comes to the front office, I completely agree with you. There's very few front offices that can handle tanking for 3 or 4 years because of the local media and the fans constantly breathing down their necks. I completely agree with that.
But not even fans breathing down their necks, just fans not going to games.
But at the same time,
the amount of money you lose by tanking.
It's hard. It's hard to use the Cubs as an example because the Cubs, no matter what, people went to games because it's Wrigley and it's the Cubs. The lovable losers. People still went because it was a party atmosphere. They're not quote unquote real fans. So it's hard to use that as an example in this case. But the Cubs tanked for several years. I mean, when they brought in Theo Epstein, he decided full tank mode. I'm getting rid of all my big name players. I am going with young guys. I'm getting my draft picks. I'm bringing them in and I'm developing them that way into a team that I feel can win. That's exactly what he did. However, in that case, Theo Epstein is one of the most respected managers in baseball after he did what he did with the Red Sox. Yes, the Cubs did a lot of shady shit to bring him in, and obviously they had to pay for it. But with a guy like Theo Epstein, fans I felt like were okay with a few years of losing just to see it. The Cavs saw a few years of losing just because, but the NBA helped them out a lot. Give them the draft picks. Conspiracy theory, but tanking in sports for 3 or 4 years, that probably is a little bit too long for a lot of the fans because fan wants to see the team win. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big proponent of if you're gonna blow it up entirely. Don't half-ass it like some teams in this city we've seen done. But if you're gonna blow it up, totally blow it up, suck for a couple of years. But again, I'm a real sports fan. I am okay with seeing, a couple of years of losing so I can see several years of winning after that and championships. I want championships. But the average fan, you're right, cannot handle 3 or 4 years of losing. Yeah, talk to the 76ers. Completely agree. 76ers fans have a lot of problems, but don't sleep on the Sixers, man. They got a lot of young talent on that team, and I honestly think they're a point guard away from being a playoff contending team, or at
They
least
need some good wings, though. They're
Dario
great,
Saric, man. The guy's not a bad shooter at all.
Oh, I know, but he's going to take some time to develop.
Right. But I give him 2
Yeah.
years. 2 years, and he's a great player in this league. Joel Embiid's already probably one of the top 10 centers in the league, if not a top 5 center in the league, if the guy could stay healthy. I mean, this is the first year.
Top 5 you put if you take it account per 36 minutes.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. His numbers are unreal. I mean, even just per 30. The guy only plays 28 minutes a game. He's averaged on the year 26 minutes a game, puts up 20-something points, 8 boards, 3 blocks. I mean, the guy's unreal. The guy is a true talent. But, yeah, the Sixers fans had a lot of problems, but that is also a fan base that is... You also have to consider the source with that fan base. Look at the Eagles fans. Look at all Philly fans. They are rough, and they're angry. Philly fans are angry fans. They are very violent, and they're very angry. So that's a tough city to lose in. Their team is not looking to be decent. Too bad Cleveland's still Cleveland. Nobody's getting through them for a while. Don't sleep on the Celtics just because I think Cleveland's got an issue in their locker room right now that could end up coming to bite them. We talked about that last night. Don't sleep on the Celtics because that team is only a couple games behind Cleveland to begin with.
And I think they're much more focused.
They are much more focused than Cleveland. LeBron especially, and I mean, last night I went off on a rant against LeBron last night. So, I mean, if you want to check that out, it's up on our YouTube. But that Cleveland team does not look focused. Granted, if they make a trade and bring in a guy like Melo or someone or whoever, yeah, talent-wise, that team can't be stopped outside of someone in the West, either San Antonio or Golden State. But don't sleep on the Celtics just because that team is a lot more focused. They have a lot more. They have a lot of young talent there that really I do think could go toe to toe with Cleveland. I mean, Horford can guard Kevin Love. He's already a stretch four. He's able to handle the lineup that nobody can handle in Cleveland. When Kevin Love plays the 5, Horford can handle him. He can go out and play perimeter deep.
I think the most interesting matchup in that series, if that were to be a series, would be Isaiah Thomas versus Kyrie Irving.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, both guys are incredible scorers. I think Isaiah's probably a better defender than
Isaiah's
Kyrie.
a pesky defender, but Kyrie's got that size on him. I'd be interesting how that plays out.
Yes, he does, but it's only a couple inches. Kyrie's not that big.
Kyrie's what, 6'2", 6'3"?
I thought he was 6'1".
Isaiah's 5'9".
I thought he was 5'11",
5'9".
Okay, well, yeah, Kyrie's got some size, but at the same time, Isaiah might be a little bit quicker than Kyrie.
Yeah.
Might be. So, you give and take a little bit there, but both those, that would be an exciting matchup to watch, no doubt. But Jay Crowder's one of those guys. He's a rough, tough guy. I think he can handle LeBron. I think he'd piss off LeBron a lot. I mean, he'd be physical with LeBron, and LeBron doesn't...
Stanley Johnson pissed LeBron off.
LeBron doesn't like it when you get physical with him because, again, LeBron's a bitch. So if you put body on LeBron, if you put a body on LeBron, which Jay Crowder no doubt's going to do, you're going to give him problems.
Stanley Johnson unlocked that in the first round last year.
Exactly. I mean, you're going to give LeBron problems. If Cleveland shooters, the big X factor for me is Cleveland shooters in a 7-game series with Boston. Because if their shooters don't show up, I don't see them winning a series in 7 games. I think they're going to struggle. You're from Toronto. I still like the Raptors over Celtics, and both aren't beating the Cavs. I don't know. I love the Raptors too, but I don't know if that team is quite there. I think they're a couple players away.
One of the best backcourts in the NBA. Top 3 for
DeMar
sure.
DeRozan and Kyle Lowry is hands down one of the best backcourts out there. But I don't know that they're there defensively. I don't know that they're able to match up against the Cavs. I don't think, Jonas Valanciunas is not going to stop Kevin Love. Kevin Love's just going to sit out on the perimeter all day against Valanciunas and just laugh at him.
Valanciunas nice down low, though.
Valanciunas is great down low, but that's what Tristan Thompson's for for the Cavs. I mean, they have the guy that can match up against Valanciunas, but Tristan Thompson's not that involved in their offense. Kevin Love is. And when they play the lineup where Kevin Love plays the 5, Valanciunas is going to have a field day down low. But at the same time, I'll take Kevin Love shooting over Valanciunas down low any day.
Yeah.
So, but again, don't sleep on the Celtics. I like the Raptors. I have since Vince Carter and T-Mac were there, but the Raptors are a team that I just don't see them matching up well enough against the Cavs to do anything. I also don't think the Raptors could handle the Celtics just because I think the Celtics are just one of those teams that have the talent, have the youth, and the quickness and have the bench. They have a solid bench down there. I mean, Amir Johnson and Marcus Smart are no joke.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a solid group of guys there that are able to come in as the reserves and make something happen. You're able to put up points and play some defense. So, but that starting five with Boston, I think, can easily handle Cleveland or anybody outside of Golden State, because Golden State's hands down biggest super team out there. But Toronto's hands down definitely a good team. We're Piston fans here, so we definitely envy what Toronto's got in that backcourt. We wish we had a shooter like DeMar DeRozan. So
that's what we need.
Exactly. But back to the salary cap thing. In baseball, salary goes where it's deserved. Mm-hmm. You have your $30 million contracts, which is stupid money. But at the same time, that $30 million guy, I can bet you, and I'm willing to put money down that $30 million guy has either won an MVP or a Cy Young, or is very, very damn close.
Yeah.
So, but unlike basketball, where in this past offseason, you saw guys who literally played less than a season in 3 years got that kind of money. Mm-hmm. Or got money that was
not quite $30 million, but
obviously, because no salary cap in baseball. See,
Drummond's got close to 30.
Yes, he does. But having no salary cap in a sport creates a different dimension to it. A lot of people don't like it because of the size of the contracts, because they feel it's unfair, because the richer teams are the teams that are going to spend all the money, which is true. They do. Other teams spend all the money. I mean, we come from a city where we had a small market team with the Tigers, and then all of a sudden Mike Ilitch decided he wants to spend all his money because of the salary cap in hockey, because he can't spend all the money there anymore. So, and we saw us become a big market team, and it was different. Mm-hmm. But it was fun to watch because we got the big names to come into town, and the big boppers basically. Yeah. But the big market teams aren't always the teams that win. The Royals have won. The Rays have won. The big market teams don't, because of the different front office strategies, which is really the only sport I see real front office strategies in now.
Yeah.
In the managerial strategies that, the strategies that the brass make in that sport makes it a different dimension, which obviously you have to be a huge baseball nut to understand and even get into. That's me. But it adds something to the game that I don't think you see in other sports. Now, should there be a salary cap? That's up for debate. I'll agree that is entirely up for debate, just because of the amount of the money's stupid. The money's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But if it's there, it's there. So, I mean, the owners are still making money. They're still happy.
I mean,
if fans are willing to pay, fans are willing to pay.
Exactly.
And if the money's available, the money's available.
Exactly.
So, having no salary cap, who does it hurt? Obviously, it hurts fans when they got to raise those ticket prices. Mm-hmm. I get that. But baseball ticket prices aren't ridiculous. I mean, you can go to baseball games for $10, $20, depending on the city, obviously. But
the difference between something with baseball and basketball is the attendance numbers at baseball are also much higher.
Mm-hmm.
The parks at baseball can seat more fans.
But there's a salary cap in football, and football is the biggest stadiums of anyone.
But the salary cap in football is not nearly as high as the salary cap in basketball.
Really? I thought it would be way higher. They have a much larger team.
Okay, let me rephrase.
The average salary.
Yeah, the average salary is not
another
nearly
thing
as high.
you're seeing with football, though, is most of it's not all guaranteed money. Mm-hmm. When it comes to baseball, a lot of it's guaranteed money.
Oh, it's super risky to guaranteed money in
exactly
football.
Because of the nature of the sport.
Exactly.
Though. So in football, the owners
you see much more guaranteed money in basketball.
Yeah, the owners aren't necessarily paying out these contracts. I mean, Brock Osweiler is going to be a great example with Houston. Yeah, it was a $92 million mistake. Mm-hmm. However, only $36 million of that's guaranteed.
Yeah.
Probably after a couple of years, he's shipped out of town anyways. So he's really going to cost him 36 of that 92 or whatever it was. So, but salary caps in sports, basketball, I think, rose their salary cap too quickly, too soon. The lack of guaranteed money in the NFL is definitely the great equalizer. I mean, there's a lot of money in the NFL, no doubt. Yeah, that's why you don't see teams repeating. But also, the thing is, though, in the NFL, with the lack of guaranteed money, it works because the players don't last that long in the NFL. The average NFL career is 3.5 years, which is unbelievably short for a professional athlete. The average career in baseball, I can bet you, is a hell of a lot longer than that. So a lack of guaranteed money in baseball doesn't necessarily work to that extent.
Here's
just
where it could work.
you're gonna end up paying the guy out regardless because he's gonna play that long.
Here's where it could work. This is what when we talk about guaranteed money, we're talking about more incentives. So, for example, in basketball, you give
when it comes to
instead of
a
giving
guy,
him a guaranteed contract, give him a partial contract with incentives to the rest of
they
them.
already do that though. If it's a guy who's
Yeah, but
often,
it's mostly guaranteed.
No, if it's a guy who's often injured. No, yes, MLB makes more money just because of the salary caps don't exist in Major League Baseball. But the NFL, yes, they make more money because of the guaranteed money and the no salary cap aspect. But the MLB can also afford it too. I don't know what the NFL can. I mean, the NFL probably could afford it, but they don't want to because for an NFL owner to pay that kind of money to an NFL player, that could be a massive waste of money. I mean, baseball uses baseball doesn't use the what are you going to do for me in the couple years format as much as they use the I'm paying you back for the years that you were cheap for me. Justin Verlander for the Tigers is a great example of that. He, no doubt in my mind, outside of last year, was not worth the $26 million a year that he's making right now, or $28 million a year, whatever his contract is, stupid money. But he was worth that money, when he was winning MVPs and Cy Youngs. I mean, he was worth that money then, but he didn't make that money then. I think his contract was only $14 million a year at the time. So they're kind of repaying. It was like a back payment kind of thing. That's kind of how baseball's contracts work. It's kind of a back payment, especially when they re-sign a guy. When he becomes a free agent, it's different. Mm-hmm. But in football, the injury rate is too high for the NFL to ever. Oh, no doubt. There's no way that they're ever going to guarantee money in the NFL just because of the injury rate. That's why there's guaranteed money in other sports. I mean, when it comes to you mentioned the incentives things. Those all exist in sports. Those all exist in contracts, which you still have your incentive type money. When it's a guy who's often injured, like you would see in the NFL, you have a smaller base salary or X amount of years with this option as an incentive, or this an extra $250,000 or an extra $1 million in incentives should you hit 40 home runs or whatever. That is there with certain types of players, but guys that are sure things are guaranteed. So their sure things are, you don't plan on a guy like that getting hurt. The NFL is non-guaranteed money is an insurance policy. You don't need that in baseball because it's not as physical.
But what I'm proposing is to actually even out that ratio. So it's right now it's like for example in the NBA it's 80% guaranteed. You got maybe 20% or 10% incentives. But if you even it out, the ratio, like 50-50 ratio...
I can't take the NBA salary cap seriously right now just because of what happened.
That's what I'm saying, but you could keep that salary cap, but you could avoid the epidemic of players just coasting or mailing it in with that guaranteed money. You give them an incentive to play and to compete.
But let's be honest though. How many players, in your opinion, in honest opinion, think about it here. How many players are truly coasting it in?
Most of them.
I would guarantee you not. Because those guys, no matter what, even if they have a 4-year contract, a long-term contract, they're still playing for that next contract. If a guy coasts for 4 years on $10 million a year, he's not just done.
Why do you see such big influxes in performance on a contract year?
Because the guy goes all out in those.
Exactly.
But a guy can't do... And also, I honestly do think that's an anomaly that we think we're watching. I think that's our eyes wanting us to see that a player go off because it happens with, a couple players a year. There's more than just those couple players on contract years that they did not have a good year. I mean, there's plenty of players that did not have good years in contract years. I think we're seeing that with a few players. It's totally an anomaly that we're seeing just because we see it with a couple of players. But I can guarantee you the vast majority of players in contract years don't have career years like we like to think. Just because we're saying, oh, it's a career, so he's going to play out of his mind. I don't think that's really the truth.
I mean, our very own Contavious Hall-Pope is having a career year right now.
Yeah, but again,
contract year.
That's an anomaly. There's so many players in the league that are having contract years that aren't having career years. So, coasting doesn't happen. A player will basically take time off their career and contract years by taking it to a non-sustainable level for a season to get the money. You can argue that aspect, and that is kind of my argument, but at the same time, I still believe it's an anomaly to say that most players in a contract year play out of their minds. That's why he's playing out of his mind, is it's because of a contract year. Yes, you can argue that it's an unsustainable level, which I do agree with, but I think it's totally an anomaly that we're watching, all these guys playing their contract years.
That's an interesting question, by the way.
But owners
NFL draft gets more views than NBA Finals on TV. Why do you think that is?
Because football's bigger. Football is king. There's no doubt about it. Football is absolutely king. But so the salary cap in football is higher than basketball. But there's also more players. But a player in football is a much riskier investment than it is a basketball player. Mm-hmm. A football player is so much riskier as an investment because he could, without a doubt, end his career the first time he steps on the field. Versus a basketball player, you're probably betting that's not going to happen. So that's why you're not seeing as large a contracts in football as you would, say, basketball or baseball, because of the investment, the risk on the investment is so much greater. But owners in NFL make more money. How is that fair? There's no doubt that the owners in the NFL make the most money because football is king, absolutely king. But where money goes in the NFL, and with the NFL especially when it comes to football, is completely corrupt. I mean, yeah, we were kind of catching some highlights there, Obama Lizard. Welcome back, by the way. Awesome to see you back. But the amount of money that the owners make in the NFL is unbelievably ridiculous. I can see why they wouldn't want to dish more money to their players, because a lot of times they aren't getting a return on their investment there. But I do think maybe they should, give something back to someone else. Maybe donate more of it to charity, and don't give me the NFL, pink month of October. Don't give me the NFL donating all the money for Wounded Warrior Project, wherever it is. They literally charge money to those organizations for, the advertisement. The NFL is a scam when it comes to their charities. It's a scam. So the NFL literally I'm pretty sure got fined this last year for it being a scam. They had to pay back all the money that they charged the U.S. military for, portraying their.
So where does that money go?
What do you mean?
Charity money.
The charity money goes to the organizations, but a lot of it goes. But they also charge those organizations for having their name shown.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, the NFL charges these charities for just to wave a pink flag around at the games. So I mean, that's unbelievable. So the NFL in itself, when it comes to the money, is completely corrupt, and the owners are making way too much money. But again, they're the ones paying the $1 billion for the teams. So a $1 billion investment here. If you get a good return, you're going to make a shit ton of money. There's no doubt about it. I mean, so if you're willing to put the money in, you're probably going to want to get it back, and they do. Tenfold, almost. I mean, but I'm just going to catch up a little bit. Coasting doesn't happen. You're totally right. Coasting doesn't happen. I do think that's an insult, just because of the fact that he, in a contract year, probably is playing at some of these players are playing unsustainable level. I also think that people watch an anomaly with those players, and they think that the years afterwards, and they're after they get their contract, they're not playing as well. That's probably closer to what their norm is. It's probably closer to what the player truly is. So, yeah, I completely agree there. I don't think any player ever coasts, in a professional athlete ever coasts, because these guys are hands down the most competitive of anybody in the sport. These guys are the most competitive. They want to win, and they also, and even if they don't want to win, these guys, they're not getting 20-year contracts. They're not getting a contract for their whole career. You see it a little bit in baseball, where they're getting massively long contracts. I mean, Albert Pujols got a 10-year contract. So in those cases, yeah, by the end of his career, you could say the guy is afforded coasting, and he probably could be coasting. But when it comes to a 4-year contract or a 5-year contract, like you see in the NBA or the NFL, and in most contracts with baseball, no, I don't think they're coasting, because there's still another contract they got to play for.
Yeah. There's
still another one, and just because a guy does good for 1 year doesn't mean that he's going to get as much money as he could have gotten if he had played great for all 4 years. You know what I mean? So I don't think coasting really is a problem. I just love Obama Lizard with the KD thing. We were watching a highlight of KD and Russ John, and we actually talked about how no rivalries are in sports anymore, and if this is the beginning of a budding rivalry, I would love it. I will watch every game. I'll become a fan of both teams just to watch the rivalry between the two. I mean, I miss rivalries in sports so badly. And if they're gonna get physical with each other and push each other around and start jawing at each other, it'll feel like the
basketball I love.
It'll feel like the '90s and early 2000s again. I'm gonna love it. So, They basically charge charities for the exposure. Oh, yeah, definitely. They do. They don't basically. They do charge charities for the exposure that they give them. They actually had to pay money back to the U.S. military for the money that they charged them. That sends it all. That says it all right there. They literally had to pay back the U.S. military for the money that they charged them for showing up at the games. That's despicable. I mean, that's ridiculous. This is the U.S. military you're talking about here. Why are you charging the U.S. military, which is the entire, you can argue is the entire reason you even have a league, that you're able to play and, wave the American flag at your games. So it's unbelievable. But Westbrook is a very angry man. Westbrook is a very angry man.
He's a deadly man.
I love it because the man is playing out of his damn mind, and it is awesome to watch. You are watching people. You take a minute to understand what you are watching with Russell Westbrook. He's doing something that has not been done since the 1960s, where the talent in the game was nowhere near what it is today, or even in the past 20 years. Russell Westbrook averaging a triple-double is unfucking believable.
Oh, is he still averaging triple-double?
Yes. As of this morning, he was. So he's getting a little bit close. I think he's only down to 10.2 assists a game.
That's all I was saying. I'm like, did he get below yet or
No,
not?
he's not there yet, but I hope to God he does it. Just because he is a very angry man, but that is a man who's focused.
We almost saw Draymond Green get a quadruple-double last night.
That would have been insane.
First ever player to get a triple-double without the points.
I know. That's unbelievable. But Russell Westbrook is so fun to watch, and you were watching a focused, deadly, angry man. Yeah, the Spurs beat the Pistons yesterday. What the fuck else is new? Our Pistons suck this year. We have no hope for them right now. We think they should ship half the team out of town. So we talk about that all the time.
Dwayne Dedman didn't let Andre Drummond do it.
Who the hell is Dwayne Dedman? That's what the problem with the Pistons
Andre
is.
Drummond like 25%
I know.
shooting.
That's what the problem with the Pistons is. Drummond just doesn't show up against certain people. It's a whole different... It's a different conversation. I mean, if you guys want us to talk Detroit sports one day, we can. We're so passionate about our Detroit sports. But we try to keep this as, non-Detroit. We don't hide our allegiances anyway, but we try to keep it at least middle of the road. We talk about every team out there. So, but awesome game by your Spurs, no doubt. I hate you. I hate your success. And I hate Bob Horry. Big shot, Bob.
Oh, God.
Still breaks my heart. Oh. But,
speaking of fans holding grudges, Jesus.
But, no, I mean, salary caps in sports, I think the salaries in sports are ridiculous, and it's hard for the average fan to even talk about it, just because of the amount of money. We don't know what that money's like. Odd question, we only get national sports news here. Does any local news cover Megatron? Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, local sports news here talked about Megatron before, during, and after the retirement.
Oh, it was huge coverage on whether he was going to retire or not.
Day. I mean, all damn day. That was all people talked about, whether or not he's going to retire, when he retired, whether or not he's actually going to retire. I mean,
people were getting mad about how long he was dragging it out.
Yeah, people. I mean, whether or not people were even throwing out random, theories about, oh, he's just pulling what Brett Favre did to the Packers. He's gonna hold out as long as he can, so that the Lions are forced to cut him, and then he's gonna go sign with the Patriots, just like Brett Favre did to the Packers. I mean, there was so much coverage on it, and I mean, people still talk about Megatron a whole season.
Season ticket holders were the most upset about it because they were waiting to renew their season tickets.
They lost their star. They lost the guy that you go.
But they were waiting to renew those season tickets to see if it was worth paying because they increased the price that year.
The price, yeah.
So they were seeing if it was worth paying it, and the deadline came up, and he hadn't retired
was
yet.
a huge story here in the local news alone. I mean, it's still talked about to this day. I mean, pretty sure they talked about Megatron like last Friday when I was driving to work. I heard him talk about Megatron and going to the hall and T.O. not making it. So,
you know what's surprising though?
What?
Not much covering on his Dancing with the Stars run. Not much coverage on that.
Did you listen to the morning show on the ticket?
Not. I mean, I catch like
the
10
morning
minutes
show
of it every morning,
the morning show actually did talk about him enough, like more than I would want them to, because it's Dancing with the Stars and this is a sports talk show, but.
And I do agree with you, Obama Loser. I do think Greg Popovich
absolutely.
is
Obama
the best
Loser,
coach
Greg
of all time.
Popovich is hands down the best coach of all
the
time.
NBA.
The guy is a mastermind. And I hate having San Antonio Spurs fantasy players because I can never figure out what the hell lineup the guy's going to play. So Goddamn.
People like to argue Phil Jackson, and I know he's not coaching right now, but I
Phil
think
Jackson had Jordan,
this
man.
whole Knicks debacle is really hurting his legacy, and the fact that yes, he's had Jordan and
But
Kobe.
Phil Jackson had Jordan, Kobe, and Shaq.
I know. I agree. I agree.
That's easy mode for coaching.
I
That's
agree.
like saying Eric Spoelstra's a good coach. That guy's not a
But
good
speaking
coach.
of Eric Spoelstra, Stan Van Gundy today said Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA right
Get
now.
the fuck out of here. Stephen Gunn, what the hell does he know?
He says Eric Spoelstra is the coach of the year right now.
No. I'm sorry, but Eric Spoelstra is
His team
not...
is 6 games below 500.
Yeah, Eric Spoelstra is not a good coach. I refuse to believe it. The guy literally had a championship handed to him. Handed to him. A few of them. So, to say Phil Jackson's the greatest coach of all time, I think's a huge disrespect to Greg Popovich. Because Greg Popovich did it with Robert Horry, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Kawhi, he's doing it with Kawhi Leonard, Tim Duncan. None of those guys are Michael Jordan, Kobe, or Shaq. Tim Duncan is hands down one of the greatest fundamentally sound players of all time and one of the smartest players in the court, one of the hardest workers. Tony Parker's a great player. Manu Ginobili was a great shooter. But at the same time, none of those three guys are Shaq, Kobe, or Jordan.
Yeah.
I mean, so Greg Popovich did it with a lot less.
Not surprised. I am
that
not
does not
surprised.
surprise me at all, but thanks for the heads up.
Did you
anyway.
make it through the whole movie? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I don't plan on seeing the 50 Shades of Grey movie. I haven't seen the first. I'm not sure that I'm missing anything, so
You would actually have to pay me to sit and watch that.
probably. You probably would have to pay me. I'd have to require
The
at
day I
least...
pay money to sit for 2 hours and watch that.
Oh, there's no
shit.
fucking way I'm paying money for it, first off. If some... No. Not
I've heard different reviews.
What?
You've
You
heard
heard-
different
you
reviews?
heard good
Yeah, because it's softcore porn for 50-year-old housewives.
I haven't heard a
Of course
single
they're
good
gonna love
reviews,
it.
and I'm all over the reviews. So,
But, oh man, salary caps. I do think that a little bit more money should be given to some of these NFL players, just because of the amount of tarnish that they put on their bodies, and the amount of money that's in the sport alone. I mean, I'm glad to hear that because
Definitely wanna see it.
I
Big
definitely
fan.
want to see John Wick 2. I love
Big
John
fan of
Wick
the first
1,
one,
Yeah,
so-
so I'm glad to hear that it was great. But
I've heard many good things about it. I heard that opening sequence was unreal.
if you want to hear about what movies that we're looking forward to, I mean, our show last night we talked about a lot of movies that we're looking forward to, and my boy over here went on a huge rant on DC about how they're fucking shit up and
Fuck DC.
and how they're just terrible. So I mean, if you want to check that out again, that's up on our YouTube. But
And yes, Obama, you should have seen that instead. I don't know what you were thinking.
yeah, absolutely should have seen that instead, no doubt. It's basically the first flick on roids.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
That's
I
all
love
I
that.
want.
I love that.
I just
shit.
want more of Keanu Reeves fucking shit up. That's all I want. And killing motherfuckers.
But salary caps in sports. I mean, is this conversation even still going? Salary caps in sports are completely ridiculous.
Yeah. We
They're
can move on.
We can move on from this. They're completely ridiculous, and they're not. Are they going to raise? Probably, because that's where the money is. Are they going to lower? Fuck no. They're never. It's never going to get.
No,
The
it's never
salary
gonna
cap's
happen.
never going to go
Never gonna
lower.
happen.
Should they? You can argue that. I think should be more money in football and hockey. If you're going to go that route with the other sports, you got to raise them up.
Here's the last question to close this out. Do you think we'll ever see the salary cap get eliminated in something like the NFL or the NBA?
Yes, I think you're actually ending up going that route in the NBA. NFL probably not, because again, the return on the investment is too risky with the NFL. So I don't think the owners will ever allow that.
Yeah.
Hockey I think the salary cap for hockey was awesome to see. Granted, obviously it killed my Red Wings, but it was a great thing to see because it did bring a lot of balance into the league. But I don't think so much that it'll work with baseball, just because it'll take something out of the game. I can't really say it won't work because I haven't seen it. So I'm not even going to give an opinion on that just because I haven't seen it. Again, I'm a baseball purist. I'm a traditionalist, so I don't want to see it. But I can't say it wouldn't work. So
By the way, speaking of the budding rivalry between the Warriors and
the
Thunder,
cupcake thing.
So today the Thunder fans were chanting "cupcake" at Kevin Durant. I don't know how they did this so quickly, but Draymond Green went into his post-game interview with a cupcake T-shirt on,
Wait,
How-
why is Day-Day wearing one?
defending his teammate. What can I say? don't know how we did that
awesome.
so quick.
That's awesome.
You like place an order from the bench and have it delivered like in 2 hours. I don't understand.
That's awesome. He probably did. That's the type of shit that can
Did he
happen.
get ejected by the police?
That's the type. I don't know. But that's the type of shit that can happen when you're an NBA player. But moving on, salary cap's ridiculous. Moving on. Change it up a little bit. We're gonna jump away from sports. We're gonna talk about some video games. I don't feel like we talk enough about video games. I mean, we talked about the NBA 2K and the NBA.
This is our topic we've been meaning to get to since our first show.
Yeah, but we're gonna change it up. We don't talk about video games enough, I feel like. So we're gonna bring up, we did this with movies, and now we're gonna do it with video games. What is your most anticipated video game coming out in this year? And I'm gonna say next year just because mine comes out next year. So, what's the most anticipated video game you're thinking of?
Mine's definitely Red Dead 2.
Red Dead 2.
Red Dead Redemption 2. I've been clamoring for a sequel to Red Dead Redemption. I love the first game. I've played it twice already. I mean, not already. I've played it twice. I sold off my PS3. Done deal. Never playing it again. But
how did the crowd react to KD? From what I saw, they booed the shit
they
out
booed
of
the
him.
shit out of him. They chanted "cupcake" at him.
Yeah, they booed the shit out of him, and we're chanting "cupcake." I mean, literally, the crowd's going "cupcake" to KD all the time. But it was funny as hell. So, but
I'd love to see. I'm really excited to see a Red Dead game on next gen graphics. I think it's going to be a milestone for next gen as far as graphics are concerned. But and also it's the next Rockstar release. So I'm a huge fan of Rockstar. And,
I love Rockstar. Oh man, they did so good with GTA.
Oh my god, unbelievable! And the thing is,
that's another
they
good
keep
one that's coming
updating
out
that
soon.
game. That's not coming out for a while.
Oh, that's 2020, isn't it?
Yeah, 2020. Because they're gonna have releases for GTA all throughout.
Yeah, the
years.
GTA 5's new releases, and they're still gonna continue to release GTA content after GTA 6 come out, aren't they?
Yeah, I think that's when they said they're opening. Is that when they're opening the casino? I want to say in 2020.
I think so. Why don't they just do that now?
I don't know.
Cupcake refers to him being soft and
Yeah.
basically not being a competitor. Basically saying that he's a bitch for going to Golden State.
Zelda Breath of the Wild was another one. I'll be honest, I have never actually.
You got to play it at PAX South. It was sweet.
Oh my
awesome.
god!
I've never actually been to a PAX event. And I have always wanted to go because they look awesome. I haven't heard about Horizon Zero Dawn.
I've seen trailers for it. I don't know. I mean, I'm not the biggest shooter person.
No. Okay.
But I've seen trailers for it. It does look interesting. I probably will check it out.
It's an FPS, right?
It's not FPS. It's not FPS.
Your shooters that you play are, The Last of Us that have Red Dead that have
The
that story
RPG,
behind it.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
an RPG shooter. So, okay, I gotcha. I am actually excited. Oh, what do you do in esports, man? I actually am huge, or was pretty into esports for a while. I used to own a couple Counter-Strike teams back in the day, before it got really big. What do you do in esports?
But yeah, so what would you say you're most looking forward to?
Okay, I brought it next year just because I am so excited for it, and it's because of how much I loved the first one, and it's Last of Us 2. I am so excited for it, and I will honestly, probably, it'll break my heart if that game's not just as good or better than the first one, because that first one...
I just don't see any way it's not going to be good. There's no way it's not
I know,
be good.
but that first game, you work in the fighting game community primarily with Red Bull. Oh, that's awesome, man. I got a friend who actually used to be in the fighting game community down in Florida. He's pretty big into it. But fighting game community has always perplexed me. They're interesting. They're very different from the community that I've always worked in, which is the Counter-Strike community.
Now by fighting games, that's referring to like Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat,
not like
Street Fighter.
Not like Fight Night or something like that.
No,
Okay.
like Street Fighter 4, Mortal Kombat, Dead or Alive 4 was a big one way back in the day. Final Fantasy.
All terrible movies, by the way.
And another one is a big one right now and has been for a while, Super Smash Brothers. It's a big fighting game community game. But I actually have a friend who was big in that community for a while. But you work with Red Bull. That's pretty awesome. I've worked with Red Bull in the past, I think, when it came to... Yeah, in the past with Counter-Strike. A few times. So it's awesome that you work in the community because that's where my roots were when it came to stuff like this. So that's awesome to hear. Awesome. That's sweet. But the video game I'm looking forward to is Last of Us 2. Hands down, I am so excited for it. So excited to see what it's gonna be. I'm so excited to see the next section of the storyline. I mean, that game just spoke to me. That game was, I couldn't put the game down, and it was just such a great game that I'm so looking forward to. I am definitely looking forward to Red Dead 2. That's gonna be awesome. I loved the earlier Red Dead, but I mean, I am pretty excited for Zelda Breath of the Wild just because I played most, if not all, of the Zelda games growing up. I mean,
Play the recent
my
ones?
favorite. No, I haven't played the recent ones, but my favorite Zelda still to this day is Ocarina of Time. Love it,
Oh, yeah.
and will continue. If I had an N64,
It's widely considered
I'd
the
pick
best
that shit
Zelda
up.
game.
I'd pick that shit up and play it right now if I could. If I had an N64 still, but. Is LOU dropping this year? No, it's dropping 2018 is what I've heard.
Yeah.
You're probably right about.
They haven't
Q1
actually announced
2018.
release date, but speculative is 2018.
Yeah, I've heard. I don't think it's gonna drop this year. Probably next year. Probably early next year would be my guess. What year? What time of year did Last of Us 1 drop?
What time of year?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Well, let's look up the actual release date on it. Can you pull up the release date of Last of Us? The first one, not the second one. So I'm actually gonna assume that they're gonna drop Last of Us 2 in the same, if not the same month, in the same quarter as they did the first one, just to remain consistent. Because a lot of developers tend to like to do that.
Yeah.
They like to remain consistent with the time of year that they release their games. So if it was quarter one, then definitely quarter one.
if I'm not mistaken, Red Dead 2 is coming around the same time Red Dead 1 did as far as quarter is concerned.
Yeah, June 14, 2013. Yeah, so okay, yeah,
Was it?
I'm gonna assume that they're gonna drop it around June 2018 would be my guess. I hope it's earlier because I'm so excited for it, but not too early because I don't want it to suck. Red Dead 2 is going to be in the cowboy era. Did you guys know? Nah, didn't know that.
But,
Of course,
no, I heard,
of course.
I heard it was going to be a prequel to Red Dead 1.
Is it?
It's
a prequel?
Because Red Dead 1 goes up to, like, I want to say, like, 1910 or 1900. Like,
Really? Okay.
It
Yeah,
goes
does.
up to, like, the start of the Industrial Revolution, so I don't see anyone past that.
A lot of games a lot of games and movies even tend to put out prequels for their second one. So I could kind of see how it could be a prequel. I
don't want to spoil it for anyone that hasn't played it yet. I don't want to spoil it for anyone that hasn't played it yet, but the end of it is kind of I don't see where you go from there. So
yeah, okay, yeah. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Send a follow your way. Looking forward to future casts. Hey man,
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much. Again, welcome to the show. We hope to have you back sometime soon. You know, thanks for the follow. We really appreciate it. Thanks for the support. So you have a good night. But we're not stopping there.
Yeah.
So
we'll probably be back on Friday. So.
yeah, we normally do our shows Fridays and Saturdays. We'll probably be back next Friday. If we do a middle of the week show, we throw that shit up on Twitter and we announce to you guys. So if you hit us up on Twitter and we'll let you know if we do a middle of the week show. But we do normally do a weekend shows. So thanks again. Have a good night. But yeah, definitely Last of Us 2. I'm so excited to see where they take the storyline from there. I could definitely see how they just end the game, end it entirely at the end of the first one. But I love that they're not. I love that the story's gonna keep going, just because I was so excited. I loved it. The game was awesome, hands down in my opinion, one of the best stories in a game to play. I was sad in the beginning of that game. Like it made me sad. I was excited at certain parts. I was scared at certain parts. I mean, that game was so much fun to play. Another game that's already out now, but I was really looking forward to, was the new Resident Evil game.
Oh yeah, that was one of my biggest.
I haven't gotten to play it yet, unfortunately, but it looks awesome.
I'm waiting. I'm gonna play it in VR. I'm not gonna.
You're gonna wait to get VR?
I'm not fucking around with it.
That's a lot of money, homie.
I'm doing it.
You know what? You get the VR, I'll get the game. But
oh wow!
awesome.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Obama. Thank you. You know what? You too. But
are you having a beer with us? You got the beer goggles on? Is that what's going on?
but
Did your hair before you
yeah.
came on.
But
yeah, we actually have a stylist now.
yeah.
Oh, thank you, Bombers. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate that. But Resident Evil, I'm super excited for. I totally want to play in virtual reality, and part of me wants to wait to play it till I can get the virtual reality going, but part of me at the same time doesn't want to wait, because I don't know how soon I'm gonna get a VR set for my PS4, but I so badly want to play it.
Oh, yeah,
and I'm
absolutely.
so upset that I haven't yet, so I'm super excited. But
Another one I was looking forward to is For Honor. I have not gotten the chance to play that at all yet. But
have you gotten to see it at all?
I've gotten to see it, and it looks interesting, but at the same time...
Have you gotten to see gameplay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, gameplay.
Okay, because, I mean, it's on Twitch all the time.
It
People are
looks
playing it like
it
constantly.
looks interesting, but at the same time, I don't know how sustainable it is as far as entertainment value, because it's like I don't know how long I'm gonna have fun just slashing at people with swords. You know what I'm saying?
Sounds like fun to me.
It does sound fun, but like you don't have the variety that you do with something like a Battlefield, all these different weapons and stuff. Like,
Right.
I feel like again, I've never played it.
We
so
don't know. We don't know if there's more variety to the
what I'm
weapons.
saying.
There could be. You
but
could have.
it's
going to
be mostly the same. Sword,
Yeah.
axe, a club, like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but again, you could have a storyline there.
Yeah.
Though.
I just don't see. And again, I've never played it, and my opinion probably changed when I play it. But as of right now, I just don't see where the strategy lies. So I think like it's gonna be one of those games where the first month of playing it, it's gonna be really fun, just something new, you know. But after that, I'm hoping it's gonna be something that's sustainable, but we'll see.
Okay, I gotcha. Any other games I'm looking forward to? Definitely.
I mean, we're always looking forward to the new Madden game.
Obviously, I mean, we always do, last couple releases of like Madden 2K, we've done the midnight release thing. Like we'd go there late at night and we'd pick it up and we'd, not necessarily play it that night, but we'd play it the next day.
Yeah.
And I mean, we love those games. Those are big with us. We grew up with those games. I mean, my first Madden game was 99. My first MLB game was 98. My first NBA game, I want to say, was 03 live. Could have been 04. But I still think the best basketball game to this day is NBA Live 05. Just
Oh my
because
God,
that game was
unbelievable.
so much fun. But KD and Russell talk smack to each other during the whole
Oh, yeah,
game.
I loved it. I
Dude,
loved
it was
it.
awesome to watch.
Budding
Watching them
rivalry,
jaw
man.
each other
Budding
during-
rivalry.
Watching them jaw at each other during timeouts was awesome. And honestly, I think that's KD's fault. I don't blame Russell for any of it.
not at all.
Russell Westbrook deserved to have him at least a call from KD saying what he's doing.
Yeah.
They were boys in OKC. And to have KD just not even say, hey man, I'm doing this for me. I gotta win a title. This is where I'm going. For him to not even call, that's kind of a fuck you middle finger to his face. I mean, I get why Russell's pissed off and why Russell's coming at KD. I mean, I totally get it. So, I mean, man, I get it. I get why he's pissed off and why they're jawing at each other. And I love it because it brings a rivalry aspect back into a sport that hasn't had it in years.
Yeah.
And I miss it. So definitely fun to watch. I can't wait to watch future games. Thank God they play in the same conference so we get to see them at least a couple times a year. And I can't wait. Oh man, if they play each other in the playoffs, the intensity level will be so high and it'll be so much fun to watch.
I'm hoping that Thunder take that 8 seed. I am praying. I want that first round match. That'd be one of the best first rounds, if not the best first round of all time.
I almost would rather them play each other in the second seed.
Well, see, the thing is,
Semifinals.
you can't guarantee the Thunder are going to make it there. So I'd rather just have that guarantee matchup. Thunder finish at 8th, you know what I'm saying? But back to the video games. Another anticipated release is a series that has fallen out of favor with both of us recently, and more than further back than recently, is Call of Duty.
Oh
If-
man, I haven't.
If
liked Call of
there's
Duty since,
any
like, COD
truth,
4.
if there's any truth that they're going back to the roots and they're in a World War II game,
From what I've heard, and this is what Call of Duty, and I read this I think last night. Call of Duty, the new game that's coming out, is supposed to put troops on the ground, which, in my opinion, and what people are speculating, is going back to World War II.
yeah.
And yeah, they do play each other again next month, so that'll be awesome to watch again. But putting troops on the ground again and going back to its roots, which I've also heard it's not necessarily World War II, could be Vietnam, and they could go ambitious because most games fail when they try to do this outside of Battlefield 1, and it's go World War 1, which is
Yeah.
something Call of Duty's ever touched, which I think that's the route they go just because of what Battlefield did. I think they go World War 1 with their game, and I
mean, World War One was a huge. Battlefield 1 was a huge success too. So
absolutely.
There's not short on incentive to go World War One.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, the market for World War I games is, in terms of big name games isn't very large. I mean, there's not much competition out there. So, and they've always got to keep up with Battlefield. Like, it's always been Battlefield, Call of Duty against each other. So to see Call of Duty go back to a historical war for me I'm super excited about it, because I think the best Call of Duties were 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Hands down. I mean, those are the ones that I had the most fun playing and replaying. I mean, COD 4 was a really, really, really good game. Could argue that it was the best one, but it didn't 100% do it for me, because I am a huge history junkie. So seeing the World War II games for me, like going from World War II to, I heard it might be set in the Civil War. I'd be interested to see how that would work out, just because I've played Civil War games on the computer, and they're more strategy games than they are first-person shooter. I played first-person shooter games for Civil War games, but they've never really been that great. So
it goes back
maybe
to
a big title like Call of Duty could do it, but again, the Civil War style of fighting, I don't know, works for a first-person shooter.
It goes back to my comments about Front, like how sustainable would that be as far as replayability?
Yeah, I agree. So if it's Civil War, that'll be cool, because that's really
I'll definitely
untouched.
check it out, because I've never
Civil War is
Civil War
totally untouched in my opinion when it comes to big name first-person shooters. So that'll be cool, and definitely first of their generation to do it. I mean, just like Battlefield 1 was really the first big time World War I game.
I can see being a total Call of Duty move.
What?
If they really did a Civil War era game, but have like a stylized Civil War era game.
What do you mean?
Where it's a Civil War era game, but not true to the fighting tactics of the Civil War.
Well, that's already happened. I mean, I'm pretty sure the game Civil War is what it's called. It's a first-person shooter, and it isn't Civil War style. It's a normal fighting,
like Civil War with guerrilla warfare. And
that's kind of what that game was. And if Call of Duty goes that's really the only way they'd be able to make a game like that work. Yeah. Just because Civil War fighting was, you line up, in lines, and you go and shoot each other. Yeah. But that's not going to work in a first-person shooter, so they'd have to do it, But it's already confirmed it's going back to its roots. Which, you're right, it has been confirmed to going back to its roots. And
just a matter of exactly
where it goes, though, because back to its roots is in history.
It'll be interesting. I'd want to see a Vietnam one.
Wasn't Black Ops supposed to be Vietnam?
Was it?
I think so. At least somewhere in that era.
That was at the point where it fallen out of favor with me. So.
Yeah, it was supposed to be, some of the guns were from the Vietnam era. I don't know if it was supposed to be actually in the Vietnam era. But
I'm talking like platoon style Vietnam. You know what
that would be sweet. There really hasn't. But the problem is with the Vietnam era game is that war itself was not in high favor.
Oh yeah.
So you really, I don't know how well that would do just because of that. So just because of that, and a storyline, are you really going to have a storyline be where you lose at the end? I mean, younger generations are not going to like that. So, but going back to its roots is awesome for me. I may actually buy this one if I hear good things about it, or I see some gameplay and I really like it. Just because of the fact that, again, my favorite Call of Duties were 2 and 3. So if they go back to World War II, World War I, or the historical wars, I'm totally bought in. Totally gonna buy it again, and it may turn around my opinion on Call of Duty. Finally, since COD 4. COD 4 is the last Call of Duty that I thought was any good. I didn't like Modern Warfare 2. I didn't like Black Ops that much. World at War was fun. I had some fun with it. I wasn't big on it, but Black Ops 1, 2, World War, Advanced Warfare was terrible.
The campaign was a strong point for World at War.
Yeah, I agree with that. But
multiplayer
Ghost
online
was terrible. So I mean, if they don't go back to their roots and it's a good game, I'm totally bought back in with them. So, but they got to stay that route. They can't, put out a good game and then put out shit again.
Yeah.
So, definitely interested in that. Totally.
They could definitely win me back.
They could definitely win me back. At least for one title. At least. But so, I mean, if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot. We did want to hold this one a little bit shorter. We still, took up an hour and 15.
Let's talk. What can we say?
Yeah, we do like to talk a lot, and we love when you guys interact with us.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to shoot out any questions or anything like that, feel free. But I think that's all we got for topics for tonight.
Yeah.
We'll be back next weekend, or maybe in the week sometime. Just depends on the schedules and stuff. So, and again, we throw all that shit on Twitter. So if we're gonna do something, we'll let you guys know. But
Yeah, thank you guys for staying
Thank
active
you guys
in the
for
chats.
coming out and talking with us, hanging out, having a good time. I hope you guys had a good time because, again, we did.
Oh,
We
yeah.
love talking to you guys. We love talking, just talking and talking about this type of stuff because this is what we do. So, thanks for coming out. Hope you guys had a good time.
It's been the Fan Report.
Yeah, it's Fan Report. Again, Twitter at Real Fan Report. Please hit the follow button. That'd be awesome, you guys. Again, we try to keep things up to date on there. Feel free to hit that follow button if you guys want to come back. Again, we stream mainly on the weekends. We're gonna try. We might do some weekly stuff, but
we'll let you know if
we'll let you guys know. So thanks again for coming out. We love you guys. This has been the Fan Report, where it's by fans.
For fans.
Thanks again, guys.
Peace.
Have a good night. Peace out.